Good morning, fellas. Welcome to another episode of Top 5 Discussions here on the Spoiler Alert Network. Today we're going to be talking about our top 5 favorite pro wrestling factions.
Fractions are tight. Oh, factions, my bad.
Factions.
I get excited about math, guys.
Surprising, really. I'm Showtime, this is Dirtsheet, and we define factions as a group of wrestlers composed of more than 2 people, basically. Anything more than 2 people is a faction, I'd say.
Essentially, yeah, tag team is 2.
Yeah, so, more than that, that's a faction.
More than 2, scientifically, is a faction.
Scientifically speaking, because wrestling and science hand in hand.
Exactly.
So we're going to go ahead and get started with our number 5. Let me hear what you got.
Okay, so my number 5 pick is from whenever I was a little younger, and this was actually before my time of watching wrestling, but when I started watching, I watched highlights of these guys, the Nation of Domination. I actually probably liked him more when Farouk was the leader. I love The Rock. The Rock was a great leader for this faction, but Farouk defined the Nation of Domination
for sure.
Me. And I feel like he kind of spiraled afterwards. They didn't know what to do with him as a singles competitor. But I really like this team of The Godfather, D'Lo Brown, The Rock, Mark Henry. It was a bunch of young guys, and they varied. D'Lo Brown was a bigger dude who was very athletic. Godfather was just hilarious. I love The Godfather. The Rock was probably one of the crispiest. He was the crispiest wrestler of his generation. So, and then Farouk was phenomenal. I really like this team, and I like the feud that they had with Degenerate X. So, but that's my number 5.
Yeah.
Rock is crispy. What's your number 5, good buddy?
My number 5 is the NWO.
Which one?
You know, the one that had all of them. The NWO got to the point... Well, okay, start at the beginning. The NWO started off with Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, and it should have stayed that way.
Yeah, it eventually evolved into the WCW roster.
Yes, it was eventually the NWO versus the 3 remaining members that weren't in the NWO. And then they branched off into the NWO Wolfpack and the LWO. NWO was great when it was a 3-man team, and it was new and cool and fresh. And then it just got to the point where it got oversaturated, really.
It did become a pretty old gimmick really quick. It was special, but it was super special. It could have been phenomenally special for a long time until they decided to just have everybody in the NWO.
For sure.
Because I remember when Hogan made the jump to I don't remember it because it happened when I was like 4, but when I watched, I remember Hogan making the jump to WCW, and the heel turn was amazing, because all we remember about this guy was Hulk Hogan was the Captain America of wrestling. He was the super face. He never did anything bad. He couldn't do any wrong. He was
prayers,
a great guy.
vitamins, all that stuff.
Yep, and Macho Man's wife.
Yeah, of course.
Then he went to WCW, and he was like, "Fuck that noise. I don't need these kids. F your vitamins. Do some drugs. Drink some alcohol." And the fans were literally throwing trash in the ring at these guys because they just despised who Hogan had become. Yeah. And I loved it.
Yeah, wrestling was definitely different back then.
Yeah, for sure. So, it was a really good number 5. My number 4 is Evolution.
Okay.
And not the Evolution that they brought back to combat the Shield. This was Evolution in its glory days. Back when at one point they had all of the gold and I really like this because Ric Flair and Triple H, 2 of the most successful wrestlers of not just their generation but of all time, took the 2 prodigies on the roster in Batista and Randy Orton and just molded them into these superstars. And I think Randy Orton would have got to the place he is regardless, but I honestly don't think Batista would have been able to get as big as he was if it wasn't for the mentorship of Triple H and Ric Flair.
For sure.
And they were a really good faction, but I think I like this faction more for the outcome of what happened, because this being associated with Triple H and Ric Flair just elevated Randy Orton and Batista's careers to just unprecedented heights. And Batista's long gone now; he's playing Drax, but Randy Orton is still in World Heavyweight Championship pictures and competing every night. And it's just, I really think that this faction did wonders for all four of the people involved.
Yeah, Orton's a 14-time world champion.
That's
now, right?
a lot of championships. Yeah, 14.
I think it's 14.
Ow.
Yeah, that's a big number for you.
Yeah, it is. And to think he's arguably a long way from done.
Yeah.
He still looks good.
Yeah.
With that insane fucking skill set that he has. It's just unfair how good Orton is. It really is.
He's almost boring to watch because he makes everything look so easy. It's like, it looks like he's not trying.
You guys heard it here first. That is one of the truest things that has ever been said about anybody that has ever existed. Copyright it. So, but I remember back in our miscellaneous group chats, you sent me a gajifif. I don't know how it's pronounced. A moving picture. He sent me a moving picture of Randy Orton mid-match, jumping, doing the splits mid-air, touching both his toes, landing down, perfectly stuck the landing.
And then he did a little arm pump after.
Yeah, and then RKO'd Mark Henry.
Yeah.
And it was just the most graceful thing I've ever seen for anybody who was as big as Randy Orton. He got like 6 feet in the air.
Yeah, for sure.
That's, first of all, no white person has this vertical leaping ability, ever. But it's just, he's genetically modified to be great in the WWE.
For sure.
So, who's your number 4?
All right, my number 4 is the Nexus.
Okay.
When they debuted in, 2010?
Yep.
They were, it was fresh and exciting, similar to the NWO. And they had 7 members. Was it 7 or 8?
It was 9, I believe.
Was 9?
It was
on the first night? It was 9?
It was the entire NXT, I don't want to say roster, I guess.
Well, at the time, that's all it was. That was their whole roster.
Yeah, it was everybody who was on NXT that season.
Yeah, that first season.
We
It was
had
Wade Barrett, Michael Tarver, Daniel Bryan.
Ryback. Before he was Ryback, he was Skip Sheffield at the time.
Yeah, and Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, and like 3 other who don't matter.
Yeah. And Daniel Bryan actually got released like the next night, didn't he?
Yeah, because he choked Justin Roberts out with his tie, like hung him from the top rope with his tie.
Yep.
And they didn't think that was a good thing to do.
I mean, that is borderline, borderline murder.
Yeah.
So.
Could have been seen as a hate crime, I guess. I don't know. But he got fired, and then they brought Daniel Bryan back for the big Nexus versus WWE payoff at SummerSlam as WWE's last member. But this group, their debut when they ran in during a John Cena and CM Punk match, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yep.
And they just tore apart the ring. And it's for some people, it was the first time they've seen a ring tore apart like that.
It was borderline uncomfortable for some of the fans, because they did really good about just making it seem like their intentions were very heinous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they kicked the shit out of everybody, from the announcers to the timekeepers, just beating the shit out of Punk and Cena. It was ugly. So, but
David Otunga. He was
David
one of them,
Otunga.
I forgot. Yep.
I don't think, was Michael McGillicuddy?
No, he was in season 2.
Okay, I didn't think he was around at this time.
Yeah, him and Husky Harris were the 2 that were added from season 2 that joined the new Nexus.
And we know what came from Husky Harris.
Yeah. But those 2 guys were added to the new Nexus, and when CM Punk took over.
Mm-hmm.
But the original Nexus is what I liked. I didn't like so much of the new Nexus. And then the following core that showed up with Barrett and Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater.
And Ezekiel Jackson.
Yeah.
Remember that guy?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh.
He's just thrown in for no reason whatsoever. Getting a little off topic there. But the Nexus were fresh and exciting because there was just so many guys, and they just had that wolf pack mentality where they would just surround the ring and just jump whoever they wanted.
Exactly, yeah.
And
And with numbers like that, it's hard to overcome.
yeah, for sure.
So,
But you know what? John Cena did it.
and he slowly buried every member of Nexus
Sure did.
over the course of like 7 months.
Yeah.
So
Joined the Nexus at one point.
that was
It
got a little ridiculous,
Yeah.
honestly. But it's a decent pick. I forgot about the Nexus, honestly. So, but my number 3 is one that I don't give a who you are. If you don't like this team, you can all the way off.
All the way.
Degeneration X, and they were the team of the Attitude Era. Everybody got in trouble at school for doing that, and it was just everything from their entrance music to their mannerisms, their promos, the matches themselves, just the shenanigans they partaked in was fabulous. Partook? So, words. But you had Badass Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, X-Pac, which he's not moved on from Degeneration X, honestly. Like, that's all X-Pac is. So, and Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and it was tremendous. I love this faction. I love the matches they had. Like I said, the feud they had with the Nation of Domination. China, we can't forget about China. So I think this was just kind of a revolutionary faction for the time period that we were in WWE, and these guys just made it exciting to tune in every week to Monday Night Raw.
For sure. Keep that going. DX is also my number 3.
Oh yeah! So
that just shows that we're in agreement on some stuff here.
Break it down.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Everything about DX was great. The Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, I like them as a tag team as the New Age Outlaws, and X-Pac. Like Dirtsheet said, he was X-Pac is just DX. That's all X-Pac has. He was in NWO when he was in WCW, but nobody remembers that. X-Pac was just DX. And Shawn Michaels is easily one of the best wrestlers of all time. And he was one of the most entertaining wrestlers of all time when he was with Triple H and DX. I didn't like their run in 2006 so much when they
against the Spirit Squad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Spirit Squad and the
Legacy.
Yeah, them.
Yep.
And Vince McMahon and all that they came back and did. And
you remember whenever they dumped
yeah,
like cow poop on the Spirit Squad on stage?
Yep. Remember that.
Yeah, that happened.
And then they shipped them off to China or something.
Oh my God.
That was the last time anybody saw them.
Yep.
Until they just showed up on SmackDown like a year ago.
You know Dolph Ziggler was in the Spirit Squad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember that.
He's probably the only one who made it after the disbanding of the Spirit Squad.
Kenny Dykstra
had a little run,
but it didn't last.
Yeah.
He was the one that I thought was going to break out when the Spirit Squad debuted.
Dykstra?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
And we are not here to talk about the Spirit Squad, though.
No, them.
DX.
They make the dishonorable mentions for top-bottom factions.
Pieces of
So, they're
male cheerleaders with their 5-way super move, throwing people 20 feet in the air. Jesus.
Oh, they're gross. We should move on.
Yep. Go ahead.
So, my number 2 is The Shield. And I really like The Shield. This is borderline pushing it in terms of faction. Normally when you think of factions, you think of, 4 or 5 plus guys. But The Shield scientifically counts as a faction because there was 3 of them. But these guys were so dominant for so long. I remember they were undefeated in WWE for, was it like a year and a half?
Yeah, for a long time.
Until they got beat, and like any victory at all, whether it was submission, disqualification, pinfall, they were just that dominant, and they were the team to beat in WWE. And then after they split, each one of these guys just skyrocketed
Yeah.
in singles competition. Ambrose is excelling in AEW, and he had a really good run on SmackDown for a while. Roman Reigns gets mega push after mega push. Seth Rollins is the face of the company now. Like, these guys just, they gelled together really well as a team and then used that momentum to just launch themselves on for singles action.
Yeah, for sure. There was a pay-per-view, I don't remember which one it was, but there was one night where all three of them held the WWE Championship within like 10 minutes. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't think I do.
I think Rollins walked into the night as the champion, and he had a match against Ambrose.
I do remember this.
Yeah. Either way, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but all three of them were champion within like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was a great night for the Shield as a whole.
So,
My number 2 pick is Fortune from the TNA days, the good TNA days. Group consisted of AJ Styles, Robert Roode, James Storm, and Kazarian. And then later on, Daniels made a return to TNA, and he was a part of the group. And this group was managed by Ric Flair, and it seemed like a modern-day Four Horsemen. They had their tag team in Robert Roode and James Storm, and they had their singles guys in AJ and Kazarian. And anything that AJ is a part of is always gold. We see that today with the OC, and we saw that in...
AJ elevates careers.
He sure does. We saw that in New Japan when he was with the Bullet Club. And everything that AJ touches is just great. And Kazarian has always been a really solid worker. I don't think he's the most entertaining person I've ever heard on a microphone. I don't think he has a whole lot of personality. But he definitely brings it in the ring. And sometimes that's all you need. If you're that good, you can make it work. But we talked about him in our tag team video. Beer Money, Robert Roode and James Storm, they're just amazing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So this collection of guys, they built TNA. TNA was originally the original house that AJ Styles built.
Yeah, it was.
And it was based on his matches with these guys, Beer Money and Kazarian.
You know, I'm going to get off topic here for a split second, but with the hard downfall of TNA, we forget how good TNA used to be.
For sure.
And how many of these guys that we see now on the WWE roster in Samoa Joe, and we've seen, was Kaz, did he come to WWE for a while?
Not after he left TNA, but he was in WWE before.
I know Aries came over
Yeah.
for a while, and he never really got any footing in WWE. But unfortunately, a lot of these guys came over after their prime, I guess, in TNA, and the only ones who really found footing were Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. But TNA Impact, they had a really good roster there for a while.
Yeah.
So, and EC3, who's alive.
He exists.
But, all right, so I guess it's time for our number 1 picks.
Yep.
So my number 1 pick is the Undisputed Era. And these guys, you will not convince me that there is a better faction in the previous 6 or 7 years than the Undisputed Era. They are just a machine. I mean, there is Adam Cole, who is the face of NXT, Roderick Strong, who is one of the most underrated performers on the roster, and then the tag team specialists of Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, who we mentioned in our top 5 tag team videos. And these guys are the future of, I don't just believe NXT, but of the WWE brand itself. And I hope these guys stay together for a long time, because they are just, it is believable that they're the most dominant faction on the roster now. And with NXT streaming live on USA worldwide now, more people are going to get to see these guys, and that makes me excited, because these guys deserve TV time. They deserve to be recognized. They deserve to get watched every week, because every match they have is stellar, whether it's singles action or as a unit. And I'm really excited that they captured all the gold on the NXT brand on the first show, because they deserve to be put in company with Evolution and other dominant factions from recent years, because that is how good these guys are, and I am a believer in the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, they're definitely amazing. They didn't make my list, but they're definitely amazing.
So, who's your number 1 pick?
My number one is the Wyatt family, led by Bray Wyatt, including Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. And everything...
And at one point, Braun Strowman.
At one point, Braun Strowman. That is a fact.
And Daniel Bryan.
And Daniel Bryan.
Oh my God, they had a run.
They did. The Wyatt family were incredible. Bray Wyatt is still incredible. Always has been, always will be. Some people think he rambles, but I've enjoyed every promo that Bray Wyatt has ever done. Everything he has ever been a part of, I've found to be must see, can't miss. And Luke Harper is really good in the ring. Some people like Eric Rowan. I don't get the hype for him, but
he's just a big guy.
Yeah,
I think that's it. But
Harper's
legit.
Harper's amazing. Not quite as amazing as Bray Wyatt, but nobody is, so that's fine. When the Wyatt family and the Shield had their feud, their match that they had at whatever pay-per-view that was, Elimination Chamber, I feel like, maybe?
It might have been. I feel like that's right for the time period.
Yeah.
It was.
I feel like it was early in the year.
Yeah.
And
it was after the Rumble.
Yes.
So.
2014, I believe.
So Elimination Chamber sounds correct.
Right before WrestleMania 30, when the Wyatt family and the Shield had their match, and it was an amazing feeling seeing these two teams square off. And just when they had a little stare down in the ring, the fans were already chanting, "This is awesome." And that's, I believe, one of the first times that happened, when the fans started chanting, "This is awesome," before anybody even touched each other in the match.
The build for that match was amazing too.
Yeah. Yeah, they really built up both factions to be unstoppable leading into the feud. And it was just...
The Shield walked away victorious in that one, didn't they?
I believe so. I think the Shield went on to face the New Age Outlaws and Kane at WrestleMania 30.
That's a significant downgrade from the Wyatt family.
Indeed.
So.
And then I think they went on to face Evolution after that. And then shortly after that's when they split up.
Yep.
Regardless, not here to talk about the Shield.
Nope,
I'm here to talk about the Wyatt family. And I just can't talk about Bray Wyatt enough. I love him. I don't know. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
You get it.
Bray Wyatt is indeed a once-in-a-generation talent.
No. Once in a lifetime.
Once in a lifetime.
I don't think anybody has ever been or will ever be as entertaining to me as Bray
I
Wyatt.
think the only superstar, past, present, or future, I will ever put in the same company as Bray Wyatt's eerie character, and this is not even talking about The Fiend. This is just Bray Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even to The Fiend yet. Is The Undertaker.
Okay.
Because it's for similar but different reasons. It's just the eerie, awe-inspiring, uncomfortable feeling. Like, standing across the ring from Bray Wyatt would give me butterflies. And I'm convinced that Bray Wyatt brings out the best in whoever he faces, whether it's the fucking jobber from 205 Live or whether it's Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I think that just the sheer presence of Bray Wyatt elevates competitors to another level.
For sure.
So, and it's not to mention the fact that, throws money at all merchandise. So,
Yep.
But Bray Wyatt is indeed a once-in-a-lifetime talent. And I don't think we'll ever see anybody as special as Bray Wyatt ever again.
Correct. You're 100% right.
So, and to think this guy used to be Husky Harris.
Yeah.
So,
definitely humble beginnings.
Yep.
From the army tank with a Ferrari engine.
Ugh.
But where he is now, jeez.
It was worth the wait.
For sure. Alright, that's going to wrap it up for us. We are the Spoiler Alert Network. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. Mostly
Social
Facebook.
media.
Yeah. Connect with our socials. People say that, right?
Yeah.
Ring bells, tap things. Tell people you like us. And that's it. Stay dedicated.